Welcome back to Chef Share. My name is Chef Nickerson. I'm one of the co-coordinators in the Culinary Arts and Related Sciences program here at El Paso Community College. Today we are going to be talking about barbecuing and smoking products. We're going to be doing a barbecue pulled pork sandwich served with a North Carolina vinegar-based barbecue sauce. We're also going to be making fresh coleslaw and pickles. So thank you for tuning in with us today. So today we're going to be doing barbecue pork butt. So pork butt is more common in barbecue in the Carolina region, so North and South Carolina. And depending on where you are, will determine what the more popular style of barbecue that you're going to have. Here in Texas, the more common one you're going to see is barbecue brisket. When you get into Kansas City, Memphis areas, you're going to see more of the pork spare ribs or beef ribs. But when you get out to the Carolinas, you're going to see more pork butt, and that's going to be more of the common style. And you're also going to have different kinds of barbecue sauce depending on which region that you're in. If you're out in the Carolinas, in South Carolina, they do a mustard-based barbecue sauce. So it's a very tart, acidic-based barbecue sauce. And in North Carolina, we do a vinegar-based barbecue sauce. So something that has a lot of acidity to help cut through the richness of the pork butt product that we have. So the first step when you're getting your protein prepared, and when you do barbecue, it does take a number of days to get everything set up and ready. So the first part is we want to season our product. So this is a pork butt, so it's a very thick cut of meat. It does have a large fat cap over top of it, which is very helpful in the cooking process. So this cut of meat has a lot of sinew. It's in the muscular area of the pig. And so it does take a long time for it to cook, to break down, to have it where we can pull it apart and have a very nice tender product that we can work with. So since we have it like this, the first thing we need to do is season our protein for it. So we're going to do a barbecue dry rub. And you want to have all your mise en place or all of your ingredients ready before you get started. So in this case, we're going to have paprika, chili powder, salt, ground cumin, sugar, dry mustard, black pepper, thyme, oregano, and cayenne pepper. So it is quite a mixture of different spices. And we do have Diego Avalos here. He's one of the students in the Culinary Arts and Related Sciences program. He's in his last semester, so he's going to be graduating upcoming here at the end of the spring 2023. So we're all very proud of him and all the work that he's done while in the program. So the first step is he's getting all of our dry ingredients, all of our dry spices mixed together in this bowl. So you do want to measure these out. Barbecue rubs are designed with a specific flavor profile to them. The primary flavors are going to be the paprika, chili powder, and sugar that is in this. So you're going to have the most of those than anything else. So we're going to get all of our items in this bowl, and we want to mix it very evenly. Because after we mix it, we're going to be coating our pork butt, coating our product. And if we do not mix all of our dry ingredients, our dried spices, evenly, we're not going to have an even coating, and we're going to have an uneven finished flavor with our pork butt after we get our dry rub going. So it is quite a bit of ingredients to have. Most of these are commonly and easily found. Most people will have these just in their at-home kitchens, as is. So Diego has all that in there. You're just getting mixed all together. And this is something too, you just want to take your hands and really just thoroughly work that together in order to get it combined very evenly before we start to coat it onto our pork butt. So he has all of that, and you should look at it and just be able to see all the different spices going throughout it. You could just get a pre-made barbecue rub, but it is always better just to make these kinds of product at home so you get the kind of flavor profile that you want for it. Okay, so the next step is we have the pork butt, and we're going to hit it with a little bit of oil. That's going to help all of our spices stick to it. So you just want to put a small amount over top of it and just rub the oil around on the pork butt just to have just almost like a layer. It acts as almost like a glue with our barbecue rub. So then he's going to take this, and this spice mixture right here is made for a 10-pound mixture of pork. So we're not going to use all of it. We're going to use about half of it all together. So we want to take it and spread it over top, and just do it like a little bit at a time. So he's going to get that part on there, and we're going to get a nice even coating on there. And always do this over like a pan or something else, because not all of it's going to stick. You're going to have some coming off the sides, and you can just pick that back up, and you want to rub it all over your product in order to get as even of a seasoning as possible. So we got most of it on there, and we'll get the last few rounds of it. And this kind of spice rub too, you can make once, you can save for later. It holds very well. And so we're going to get that evenly on there. And at this point, with our pork butt, we're going to have it sit with the seasoning rubbed on it. You want to let that sit for about 4 to 5 days overall. And it's because you have a very thick protein or a thick cut of meat, and it needs time for these spices to penetrate into the interior of the product. If you just started cooking this right now, all it's going to do is just season just the outside. And all of your internal meat is not going to have any of the flavor that you put together with your dry rub. So we're closing in on the end of our barbecue pork butt journey, and we are ready to start to smoke our dry rub pork butt. And we're going to do this over a long period of time. What's really important with cuts of meat like pork butt, like brisket, or any tougher cuts is you want to do it slow and at a very low temperature. So a very long period of time on really low heat. So this is a smoke box, and this is going to act as a very low temperature oven. So the box itself only gets up to about 250 degrees, and we're going to turn it down to about 200 when we go to smoke our product. So we have our pork butt, so we've had this in our dry cure, our dry rub for the past 3 days, just to allow for the time for the spices and herbs and to penetrate into the center of our pork butt product. So when you're choosing and you're getting your smoker set up, you're going to have your wood chips. And the kind of wood chips that you use is going to be up to your personal preference. So there are cherry wood chips, applewood, mesquite, and you can determine what kind of smoke flavor suits best your purposes. These are mesquite wood chips. This is more commonly used in the El Paso region. But what's important with these is you want to take them and you want to soak them for a few hours in water. And the reason why you do that, if you put dry wood chips into a smoker, or it's the same thing as like setting it up in like a fire, it's just going to burn smoke for a short period of time, and then the smoke will go out. You soak it in the water, and this will allow it to smolder, and it'll produce smoke over a much longer period of time. That smoke's going to add a lot more flavor to your finished product. But the reason why we use cuts like pork butt, cuts like pork ribs, beef ribs, and brisket is those are very fatty cuts of meat. And the fat in the product is what is going to absorb the smoke flavor. So if you use a leaner cut of meat, it's not going to absorb the same amount of smoke flavor as you do for a cut like this pork butt. So you can think back when we did the dry rub 3 days ago, where it had a lot of the fat cap on top. That acts as, it acts as like a protective barrier. When we do the slow cooking in this, the fat's going to slowly melt and moisten the product over the period of time that we're going to cook this product. Also, the fat acts as an absorbent for all the smoke flavor that we're going to get out of this. And as the fat slowly melts, the smoky flavor dissipates and like melts throughout the entire protein to give you a much more even smoke flavor in your finished product. So we have our smoker here. We're starting out at a high temperature in order just to get our wood chips going. So it's important too that you set up your drip pan at the bottom so that any excess fat or grease just doesn't make a mess overall. So with your door, you open it up. We have our rack that we're going to smoke our product on. And at the very bottom is where we have our heating element. So that's just a coil heater. And that acts as our smoke box. So what's important too when you are smoking product is you'll have a box like this. You don't need a lot of wood chips in order to get your smoky flavor. You just want to start with a small amount. So get our wood chips in here, just a small handful, and then just get it set up back in here. And that is going to produce enough smoke for probably that amount, a good 4 to 5 hours, and we can always refresh that throughout the cooking process if we want to get more flavor to it. So we have our pork butt that we'll just set up on the rack in here. Always set this up where the skin side is up. If you set it up where the skin side's on the bottom, if you set it up upside down, all the fat that we talked about that's absorbing all the smoke flavor and moistening our product is just going to drip onto your pan below it, and it needs to melt throughout the product overall. So we have our pork butt set up on our rack. We're going to have our wood chips in here, And at this point, we'll just get the door shut and we'll let the smoker do the work the rest of the way. So we started out at a high temperature for a smoker, so it was up around the 250 range, and we're gonna turn it down to 200. So low and slow. It needs that amount of time in order to break down the connective tissue and the protein that's in a product like pork butt in order to get a very tender, moist, finished product. Okay, so we have the first phase of our barbecue pulled pork sandwich started. So we have our pork butt dry rubbed. So we're gonna let that set for a few days. And now we're gonna start getting our pickles together. So pickles is another process where we start with our fresh cucumbers, and we're gonna make a pickling liquid, and that's gonna have to set for a few days as well in order to get the pickles ready to go. Pickles are very straightforward to make. The base ingredients you have for it is a white distilled vinegar. You could use white wine vinegar, champagne vinegar. Any of those will work the same way. And then we're also gonna add to it sugar, some salt, and then a pickling spice. And pickling spice is just called exactly that, just pickling spice. But it'll have a mixture of allspice berries, there's cloves, coriander, cumin, bay leaves. And that we just add to that because it adds what a lot of people have come to associate with a pickled product. So the first we have our vinegar that we added to our pot, and we're gonna add our salt and our sugar, and we have to heat it until it dissolves. And it's very important that all of the salt and sugar dissolves. And so we have the liquid that's going to cure our product. And so this process is essentially, I'll call it almost a wet cure, where we had the pork butt where we use a dry rub on that. So that was almost like a dry cure. So this, we're setting up the opposite of that, where we're gonna do a wet cure or a brine for it. So the next stage is we're gonna take our cucumbers and we're gonna get those sliced for it. So the first thing Diego is going to do, he's going to start getting these cut up to slice to put in the thing while we bring our liquid to a boil. So with the cucumbers, the ones you see in the store in the jar are grown specifically for that. They're called pickling cucumbers, and they grow to that size. But you can pickle any kind of cucumber that you want. So Diego's going to take this, and we're going to get the top and bottom just cut off of like these, and he's going to use this, which is called a mandolin, in order to slice these so we get an even slice on all of them. So we want them all to be the same. So he's going to get that going, and we're going to get those sliced and into our container while our pickling liquid comes to a boil just to dissolve the salt and sugar. If you use these products, they are very sharp, so you do want to be careful with them. It is very important too that you have a uniform cut on your product. So all of our cucumbers are going to have the exact same width, so they're going to pickle or be ready in the same amount of time. If they were different sizes, different shapes, the amount of time it takes them to pickle is going to take a lot longer. So we have that one set up. That should be good, and we'll get those set up into our container. And so you want to use a container that can withstand pouring boiling water into it. So like a plastic bag or just a light plastic container isn't going to work very well. So we have our pickling liquid that we're just waiting to come up to a boil here, just to dissolve the salt and sugar. And over the next few days, that's going to take the raw cucumber that we have and just break this down until it's soft and it becomes what we all associate with being a pickle. And the salt and the sugar is going to add the sweetness and the flavor to it, while the pickling spice is going to add a different flavor profile, a different amount of just the herbs and the dry spices that we associated with that. So we have it here. And so we did put the pickling spices right in there, but we'll strain those out when we pour it over top, or else you're just going to spend a lot of time picking all of the pickling spices out of this overall. So go ahead and grab a strainer from the back area, just so we can take this, and then we'll just have this going into the our product here. So with our pork, so we have that cured, we have our pickles that we're getting to set up, and the next phase that we're going to go into is we're going to be making our coleslaw and then our vinegar barbecue sauce. And then we'll be ready to go to have our nice barbecue pulled pork sandwich. And with our pickling spice, it's almost to a boil here. So you're just trying to get the salt and the sugar to dissolve. And once it gets to this point, we'll just take it and we just want to keep moving it around. You don't need to boil it or simmer it for any long period of time, just to get the salt and the sugar dissolved in the pot. So we're pretty much almost there with that. So we're going to take it. In order also to just to set up to help ourselves out, you want to set up a towel underneath this or some kind of bowl or pot. So just in case you spill any of it, you have that going there. Okay, so Diego, we are ready to go. Just go and take that and just pour that over top of our pickles or our sliced cucumbers. Just to strain out all the liquid there. So we have enough in that. And we'll just let these set here too. And the best thing to do is just take a piece of plastic wrap and you just put this over top of it in order to push the top level of the cucumbers right below the edge of our pickling liquid. And we'll let that set for a couple of days. And by the time our pork is ready to go into the smoker and come out, these will be ready as well. Okay, so we have our brisket. It's been dry rubbed. It is ready almost to go into our smoker. We have our pickles set up and those will be ready as well coming up in the next few days. And so we're gonna go ahead and get our coleslaw together too. So we have our nice side for our barbecue pulled pork sandwich. So basic ingredients for coleslaw, we have our shredded cabbage. So this is just regular, just green cabbage. And then we also have julienne carrots set up in here too, so we can have the different flavor profiles and contrast. Carrots will add a little bit of sweetness to this. The coleslaw is very simple to make. So all we really need to do is add some of our cabbage into the bowl. You just a good handful, and you want to do this in about a ratio of about 4-to-1 cabbage to carrots. And you can do anything else with this. You could add pineapple to it, you could add red onion to it, you could add jalapenos to it, just depending on what kind of coleslaw that you want to make. And then we'll add some of the carrots as well into that. Now all we're gonna do from here is just mix it. So first thing we want to do is salt it before we add our other ingredients. So we're just gonna mix in some mayonnaise, some mustard, salt, and pepper. You can also add sugar, cayenne, anything else, but we're just gonna do a base foundation one. So we want to add our salt to it first, and then just get that tossed in and mixed in. And the reason why you want to do your salt beforehand is once we add our mayonnaise and mustard to it, the salt won't be able to penetrate into the flavor of the rest of it. So we'll add our little bit of salt and pepper. We'll get a little more salt and mixed in. So Diego is going to get all that mixed together. And then we're going to mix in our mayonnaise and our mustard just until we get the consistency that we want. So we'll take that, we'll put in just a decent spoonful to start, and we'll just put in a touch of mustard. So from this, we're just getting some of the mayonnaise is adding the creaminess, the mustard is adding a little bit of the acid to it to help balance that out. So we're just gonna take that and just toss that together. And you just want a light, even coating on this. It shouldn't be a soupy texture at the very end. You don't want to have so much mayonnaise that you can't taste any of the other ingredients as well. It's just enough to almost toss it, almost like if you had a creamy based salad, like almost like a Caesar salad in a way. So he has that in there. And so we have our coleslaw set up. Then you'll just taste it to see what kind of flavor that you wanted to add to it. So if you wanted to add anything else, cayenne, paprika, we'll add a little more salt. I'll add a touch more mustard to this. And a lot of this will be to taste. So you can have your own personal preference for what you want to accomplish with your coleslaw at the very end. And with this, you can make this, you can save this for a few days, you can serve it right away, depending on what you're looking for to get out of your final product in the end. Okay, so our pork butt has been smoking overnight and is almost ready to come out of the smoker. So we're gonna go ahead and get our barbecue sauce ready for it. So we're gonna be making a North Carolina style barbecue sauce. So this is a vinegar-based barbecue sauce. It is a lot more tart, it's a lot more acidic, and it's designed to cut through the richness of a product like pork butt that's very fatty. So we have all of our ingredients laid out here. So we have our water, which we're gonna get started boiling into a pot. And the purpose of the water is to help dissolve these other ingredients that we have. So we have our water, we have our sugar next. Then we have our brown sugar. We have a dry mustard powder. We have kosher salt. We have a cayenne pepper, black pepper, and we have the paprika as well. So when we bring it to a boil, we're just bringing it up to a boil quickly, just in order to get all of those dry spices dissolved into a liquid. So this is not the kind of barbecue sauce that's going to be spreadable. This is going to be a very liquidy barbecue sauce. It's meant to just be tossed in with the shredded pork to help cut through the richness of it. It does have a lot of spices and a lot of flavor to it, so it's a very strong flavored sauce. And we're just getting that brought up just to a simmer, just in order to get all of those dry spices dissolved. And then we're going to whisk in the last final two ingredients, which will be the red wine vinegar and our Worcestershire sauce. So we have that going there, and that is ready to go. So we can go ahead and pour that into our bowl. And then we'll just add our last two ingredients as well, just the vinegar, the red wine vinegar, and the Worcestershire sauce, and we'll just whisk all of this together. So at the end, we just have our North Carolina-based barbecue sauce. So we're going to be tossing this into our pulled pork once we start to shred that, and then we'll start to plate up our sandwich after that. Okay, so we have our pork butt. So we did our dry rub on it for 3 days, and we set it up in our smoker, and we decided to let this go overnight. So it's been going for about 18 hours now. So again, we had that set up at a low temperature in our smoker to do our moist heat cooking, and we just want to have a gentle smoke going on over the course of the night. Okay, so we're ready to take this out. So we're going to get this open here, and we're going to take our pork butt out of this top rack and just set it up into our pan so we can move into our shredding process. Okay, so we have reached the end of our long multi-day journey in getting our barbecue pork butt ready for our finished plate up. So we have our pork butt here, so we're just going to cut off a piece just to get started. And Diego is going to start shredding some of this in the bowl. So we're just going to get some pieces taken off. And it'll be really tender at this point in time too. So we relied on the moist heat cooking method to slowly break down the pork butt overnight. So we have our nice, beautiful meat set up here that we smoked for about 18 hours at this point in time. And Diego is just starting to pull it apart. Now at this point, if you want to have bigger chunks, if you want to shred it, that's going to be all more of your personal preference. But we have our meat set up here, and we have our North Carolina barbecue sauce that we made. So again, this is a pretty strong but very acidic barbecue sauce to help cut through the richness of our pork butt. So we'll take that, and we're just going to add a little bit into our bowl just to toss it together. So again, this is not something that you put on to coat. You just want to toss it around to get the flavors mixed into it. And then we're going to be ready to start doing our plate up. So we have our barbecue. We have our pulled pork barbecue with our barbecue sauce. We have our buns set up here. And we have our pickles that we've let set for a couple of days in their cucumber pickling brine. So those are ready to go on the bottom too. The pickles add a certain amount of acidic value as well that helps also cut through the richness of our pulled pork barbecue. And then we have our coleslaw set up on the side for that. Okay, so Diego's going to go ahead and get the bun on the plate, set up and ready to go. So we'll set down the bottom first. We'll set up the 3 pickles just to cover the bottom of it. And then we'll put a good sized handful on top. So, and this is a barbecue sandwich, so this would be something that should be a little bit messier to eat. So you want to put a decent amount set up on top of that. We'll get our bun sort of set off to the side. And then we'll just get our coleslaw set up on the other side of the plate. So we have our cabbage and our julienne carrots mixed together with our mayonnaise and mustard. It just breaks down a little bit of the texture too. So you do want to let that set for a little bit of time. And then you have our finished barbecue plate set up. Thank you for joining us today here on Chef Share. I hope you enjoyed the presentation we did on smoking and barbecuing product. We did have the barbecue pulled pork sandwich with the Carolina barbecue sauce with the homemade coleslaw and pickles. If you are interested in the culinary arts and related sciences program, you can always contact either myself, Chef Nickerson, or Chef Jesus Lugo. We're the co-coordinators of the program. You can always come by and see what the students have going on in the Dine and Dash Cafe that's open Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. Or you can stop by the 1309 restaurant when it will be open in the summer semester on Tuesday afternoons for lunch and then Thursday evenings for dinner. Thank you.